Initial Thoughts is a spoiler-free movie review series. All opinions are my own. Hi everyone, welcome back to Initial Thoughts, a series in which we talk about films as and when they are released. Today's film we're talking about is Jurassic World Dominion, the third in the Jurassic World series, which is directed by Colin Trevorrow and stars Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, and the legacy cast returning. So before we get started talking about Jurassic World Dominion, I thought I would talk about, just briefly, my thoughts on Jurassic Park as a series, Jurassic World as a series, and the series of Jurassic whatever as a whole. Because there is now been quite a lot of films in this franchise. There's been quite a gap in between the two sections, if you like, of the franchise, with the original Jurassic Park being released in 1993, and then the first Jurassic World in the mid-2010s. There was quite a distance between the two series. So to have these two blend, if you like, in this film, I thought I would talk, just before I start talking about this, just on my thoughts on... Well, I'll start with Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park, the first film, is hard not to say a masterpiece for what it is. Because not only did it, or was it a magnificent cinema experience, it was also, it changed a lot of people's lives, and a lot of people, especially younger generation, and I was quite young when I seen the film, and certainly I would certainly preface this by saying, I'm not one of these kids. I'm not one of these kids that grew up loving dinosaurs, and that doesn't. I'm not to say that I hate dinosaurs, or it just really wasn't my thing growing up. But I understand the appeal. But it's hard to deny that the significant cultural impact that the first Jurassic Park and the franchise that it's led to has had, especially kind of mid to late 90s, early 2000s, the kind of hold it had on certainly a younger generation. And that's all stems from the first film. The first film is nothing short of iconic. It is a wonderfully told story, I think. And while a lot of the other films try to emulate it, I suppose is the best way I can describe it, I think the first film really encapsulates all that a dinosaur film should be about. It doesn't need to be any more or less than what that film gives. And I suppose that's where my gripe comes in with the rest of the franchise. Because if I'm being honest, and I understand the love that people have for all of these Jurassic World films, the original Jurassic Park films as a whole, not just the first film. I know that a lot of people just adore these for what they are, and I get that. But for me personally, the only film that is truly great is the first film. And there's a few... I don't think any of them really have came anywhere close. I think the first Jurassic World, for what it is fine as a film, but it really falls short in probably the character of the first film. I just don't think it has, and while I do like Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard in probably all three of the Jurassic World films, I just don't know that they have the same... Not charisma is the wrong word, because the both of them are great. Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard are great in this, they're good with each other, but I just don't know that the attachment is there after this third film to those two characters the way there is for, you know, Dr. Sattler, Dr. Grant, Dr. Malcolm, you know, the three legacy actors that, I mean, for what they are to come back, you know, Laura Dern, Sam Neill, Jeff Goldblum, who all have varied success in their careers after Jurassic Park, I suppose it's fair to say. It was a big step, I suppose, and certainly, I mean, let's call it what it is. It's a cash grab in a world that we live in now, which is, or certainly a media/movie world that we live in now, which is, let's get something you loved 20 years ago. I mean, I just talked about Top Gun Maverick, a film that was 36 years in the making. We have talked about the fourth Matrix movie this year. I mean, we talked about the fifth Scream movie this year, and we're only in June. There is such a maybe over-reliance on bringing back the nostalgia, the member berries, if you like, of oh, you remember this, you remember that, you like them, you like that character, you like this. It does get a bit tiresome, and I talked about this. I mean, I feel like I've say the same thing so many times so far this year, because I said this in Scream, I said this in... I mean, all those films I've just reeled off. And most recently, I only talked about this a week or two ago in Top Gun Maverick, which was characters being brought back, and maybe the necessity, does that need to happen? And I suppose when it comes to Jurassic World Dominion, I'd be better talking about its predecessor, which is Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, the second film that came out a few years back, certainly way before any of us were in the house for a while, let's say. And I have to say, I have to be really honest, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom is one of my least favourite films in the last 10 years that I've seen. And albeit I didn't see every film that was released, no one really does. Even people who study movies every minute of every day hasn't seen every movie released. But Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, I thought, was a complete stinker of a film. Jurassic World, as I mentioned earlier, the first Jurassic World, it's okay. It's okay. Not a masterpiece by any means, or not anywhere couldn't lace the boots of the first film. But the first Jurassic World was okay. You know, it was alright. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom was just... Oh, it really... Do you know, to be honest, I walked out of that and went, I think I'm done. I think I'm done with Jurassic Park. I think I'm done with this franchise. A franchise that, admittedly, I don't have a real attachment to anyway. I mean, I keep going over old grind. I love the first film. The first film, and that's about it, really. Of the original few films in the 90s, the first one's the only one I actually really like. And I suppose I kind of like Jurassic World, the first film. But Fallen Kingdom, as I say, I came out of that film and went, nope, that's me. I'm checking out. That's enough of that. That's enough of that. And this rolled around, and, you know, we all say that. We all do what we always do as movie fans. And I see the trailer. The trailer looks good. They're bringing in the legacy cast. And I talk about it wearing thin at this point, of all these legacy characters coming back and in every different franchise that you thought was done. But you know what? I seen the trailers, I went, you know what? I'll give it a go. I'll give it a go. And if it's awful, it's awful, but I'll go see Jurassic World Dominion. And then I heard the critics saying this is the worst Jurassic Park World, whatever you want to call it, Jurassic franchise film in the series. And I thought to myself, oh my, how can it be that bad? Can it be that bad? And then I actually flipped and I thought, okay, well, I'm going to see this knowing it'll be awful, but just how awful will it be? I'll probably do a video on it, which you're listening to now, and that's it. So after that, you're probably expecting me to really, really go to town on this film. Talk about how much it's absolute drivel, it's an awful film, it's just a waste of time, blah, blah, blah. Do you know what? It's not. Jurassic World Dominion isn't too bad. It's not good, but it's not too bad. And it is certainly, I mean, I'm hearing critics, actually credible critics, giving this a 1 out of 10. And I know I can be quite harsh. If you've been around the channel a while, you've seen some of my reviews, and I can be very harsh. Sometimes justified, sometimes I just really don't take a liking to a film. But this is not a 1 out of 10 film. They have went in, and a bit like myself, I would assume the critics went in and they hated Fallen Kingdom, which, I mean, if they've any kind of brain, and they just kind of carried that through. No matter what this film did, they were going to hate it. And does it have the reliance on the legacy characters? Yes. Does it have an over-reliance on the CGI, the high level of CGI I've talked about so many times, with the dinosaurs and the set pieces, the action set pieces with them throughout the film? It absolutely does. Is the story up to much? The story's pretty awful. The story is a mess. So this is not, don't be sitting here thinking I'm going to give this a 7, 8, 9 out of 10. It's not going to happen. But what I'm not going to do is just bash this film for the sake of it, because it's probably, I would say it's on par with the first Jurassic World for me. So, like I said, it's fine, it's got some likeable moments, the... Do you know what? Let's delve into the stuff I really don't like, because I can list 100 things. If you've listened to other reviews, you've probably heard other people say similar things. Is the story there? It's not. The story and the plot narrative that's told is a waste of time. What it is, essentially, is we've got our new set of characters, the Jurassic World storyline, Chris Pratt, etc., and you've got the Alan Grant, Sam Neill side of things, and you're going to get their 3 characters to meet their 3 characters, and that's what we're leading up to, and that's it. And is this film too long? It is absolutely too long. It is 2.5 hours. This film would be a lot better if it was kind of 1 hour 50-ish, something like that. I think that's probably about right. About 1 hour 50 is what I would give this film if you're wanting to tell a story, because there's a lot of filler. That's where my critique ends. The story is, pretty awful. The runtime is a good bit too long, actually. It is definitely at least half an hour too long. But that's about it. I mean, some of the character interactions aren't too bad. There's some charming moments, but probably the strongest bit for me, and probably strong is too strong of a word, but maybe one of its strengths, if you put it that way, is the action set pieces with the dinosaurs throughout the world is probably the best they've done in the Jurassic World series. Because in Fallen Kingdom you had that stupid stuff where they're like running around a haunted house with a dinosaur chasing them, it felt like. It was just horrific. And the first Jurassic World was alright. I remember them going about in the wee see-through ball that they ran away from the dinosaurs in. Yeah, the action in this, some of the action scenes in this with the dinosaurs are pretty good. Yeah, there's a few that are a bit naff, but overall, I didn't hate this film. I didn't hate this film. I didn't love this film. I just about liked it because of its runtime, and the story is just... It is that kind of switch off your brain because not much logical stuff is going to happen here. You kind of know that from 10 minutes in. But did I expect to come out of this kind of... I wouldn't say pleased, because that's definitely too strong a word, because the film itself is... I would imagine if you are a big dinosaur fan, a bit like what I mentioned earlier, if you grew up in that generation that you loved the first film, I think you'll get a kick out of this. I think you'll enjoy the film. It's not really for me, in a sense. I'm not maybe the target audience, if you like. But I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of someone who loved the first film, which I did, but I'm not in any way tied to the franchise. I didn't, grow up and love the franchise and wait for every movie and get the action figures or whatever. It just wasn't me. But I try to put myself in the shoes of someone like that, and I would imagine they really got what they wanted in this film, if you get what I mean. So no, it would be remiss of me to say that this is an absolute waste of time, because it's not. It's not the stinker that the previous film was. It's not the stinker that a lot of people categorize some of the sequels or whatever of the original ones in the 90s, bar the first one. I suppose some people like The Lost World too. But I thought I genuinely thought I'd be giving this like a 3 out of 10. I thought this was going to be a real stinker, a real waste of my time. And while, as I say, it's not getting a high score... Okay, let's get to rating time. As you can see, IMDb has gave it a 6 out of 10. I mean, that's right. That's what it is. For me anyway, in my opinion. This is a 6 out of 10. It's harmless is probably the word I can think of. Which isn't what you want to describe a movie as. You want to come out and say, oh, I loved it, it's not for me. But to be so harsh, to critique a film when you don't need to, there is stuff to like here. Jurassic World Dominion, if it's your thing, go for it, and I think you'll really enjoy it. I think you will. I think if you are in that generation I've talked about, and it's a film that, you've seen the trailers and you thought, oh my god, that's exactly what I want to see, I think you'll get what you're after. If you're going in for a real well-crafted narrative of, you know, these kind of epic proportions that blends wonderfully character storytelling, it's not gonna happen. But I knew that walking in. What I didn't think I was gonna get was quite a fun time. Nothing special, nothing probably memorable. There's that many films that have came out already this year, and there's more films that will come out in the coming weeks and months and everything. We've got a busy summer ahead. But Jurassic World, when I looked at the list, when I sat in January and I looked at the list of films that were coming out this year, and I was looking at ones that were going to be real stinkers, you know, the ones that, off the top of my head, I would have thought would have been getting really low scores. Jurassic World Dominion was probably top of the list, I'll be honest. And for it to not even be kind of, I don't think it's bottom 3 of this year so far, testament to the film. And fair play. I you know, credit where it's due. I can't just hate for hate's sake. You know, if everybody, because I read like the some of the other scores, and it kind of was the critic rating towards the audience rating, and the audience enjoyed this film. And yeah, I wouldn't say I enjoyed it, but for what it is and for what it wants to achieve, yeah, Jurassic World Dominion is a fine time, and I would recommend it to you if you think this is for you. If you see Jurassic World Dominion trailers and you went, oh, I love the originals, I wouldn't mind seeing that, go for it. That's my review. That's all you need to hear. Because if you're a fan of the older ones, if you're a fan of Jurassic World as a franchise, and if you're a fan of Jurassic Park / World as a whole entire series of films, I think you'll get what you want, to an extent. You're not getting the level of the first film, but you never were anyway. Because the first one is, you know, a staple of kind of film, certainly in the 90s. So it is what it is. I just think Jurassic World Dominion was a bit of a surprise. So yeah, that's my review. I, as always, really appreciate you taking time out of your day to listen to me talk about films. And I was, yeah, if you can't tell, I am quite surprised coming out of the theatre, seeing this and going, yeah, this was a shock, guys. So anyway, if you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. I have a lot of videos coming out in the coming weeks and days, and yeah, it's a busy time. It's a busy time, and I love it. We have Elvis coming soon. We have, I think, Thor is early July. We have, you know, 5 of the best. There's that many videos coming on the channel here in the next kind of weeks and months and all of it. It's a busy time. If you want to stick around, I'd love you for it. And yeah, and if you do, I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye, guys. Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. Before you go, here are some of my other videos. For updates and information on upcoming videos, the best place to find us is my Twitter. Much love, everyone.